We like to call it the Supernatural Hour. And now, our hosts.
Hey, welcome to the Supernatural Hour podcast. I'm your host, Ravyn.
This is Rogue.
This is Doc.
And I'm Chad. We're not going to have a paranormal investigation probably until January. We're working on some things right now to get that going. We're looking forward to a couple of things that we want to do then. We are looking at having a year-end review in November. We're still putting that together. We'll get you more information on that. And we just wanted to touch real briefly on our TikTok. We have 1,615 patrons. If you're not already a subscriber to our TikTok, please go out and do that. And our YouTube, we're up to 125.
Ooh.
We did some pretty cool events for Halloween, and we're going to talk about those a little bit, but people that attended those events signed up for things.
Awesome. It kind of helped that I made one of those little, what do they call it?
QRC codes.
QRC codes, and just have them right there.
Like, here, scan this thing.
Yeah, scan it.
Nope, you're a member now, sucker. Subscribed.
Well, the fun thing with TikTok is those teenagers just run out. TikTok, click. You don't have to ask them.
There you go. It's like a drug.
It is.
The TikToks.
So, Rogue, what do you got going?
Well, we went and we visited a few libraries, and we went to the Salt Lake Carnegie Library, and that was a pretty special building.
Yeah, that was the Chapman Library, and it was a Carnegie Foundation library from the 1920s or 30s when they originally did that one.
Right, and it was beautiful inside. It was probably
such a beautiful building.
Yeah, just old. Probably what they said, it was built in 1918 or 1920.
I think that was the area. Yeah,
right in that area. Just beautiful woodwork. There's something about woodwork, old woodwork in a building that I just really like.
Right, and they had kept the original shelving, and so much of it was just true and original. It's just really a beautiful building. So I actually admired the building. You know, it was a fabulous experience, but I really admired the building. That's what stood out to me.
Right, and they had some pretty impressive activity going on. One of the things that they said they had going on was several years ago they had a Christmas tree. And where this Christmas tree was, you had to have a ladder to get to it. I mean, it was visible, but it was up high on a little flat area. And they decorated it, and they came back the next day, and all the decorations had been taken off and just lined up on the shelf. And none of the librarians did it.
Right, or the little kid footprints that they had found in the dust up on a shelf where no little kid footprint should be.
No, and the shelf, I don't know if it was built in or if it was one that they had just put in there, but it wasn't very wide. And unless it was screwed to the wall, if you got up on it, it would tip over. And aside from that, it was like a little fire, it was a shelf, not a fireplace. This little shelf was directly across from the librarian station. And it wasn't a very big library, so and it was high enough that if a little kid tried to climb up on there, someone would see them and they would tell them to get down. And then you would see like scuffling in the dust. But they only saw footprints.
All I have in my mind is the library scene from Ghostbusters. Just very classic. Spooky library.
It was old like that.
Files flying out of the...
Well,
they had card catalog there.
They did.
All
But
right.
they did have books that flew off a shelf, they said, downstairs. They showed us then they had
the bookcase where that happened.
Mm-hmm. And then they did have, there's a female ghost there. So it almost is Ghostbusters.
It's pretty much Ghostbusters.
Sorry, Rob. Didn't mean to hijack your segment.
Very cool library.
Oh, of course. Yeah, it was a great library. And I don't want to set aside the American Fork Library. That was also as intriguing. That one, for me, I was locked outside. And
Not on
Rogue
purpose.
didn't really enjoy being locked outside. It was not on purpose, thankfully. However, in my complaining of Rogue does not like to be locked outside when she's cold and not prepared, I looked over and I seen a door open, and I was able to come in and bring the people in with me. And later, after talking with the librarians, that is a door that no one has a key to, a door that's never unlocked. It is an exit door out of a break room, and it was not unlocked for us to be entering in and out of. So that one was a little interesting as well.
Yeah, and then she had known about that. And when she came around with my group, we went. We were in the back side of that building, and she went over and she said the other group was able to get in here, and so we tried it and it was locked.
Weird.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and that's what she told us.
Yeah.
She's like, the other group was able to get in here, and we don't know how they did that but they had activity. The librarians would hear voices at night when it was quiet.
So how many people did we have at the lecture? And then it was kind of a mini investigation.
Right. So that one. So when we do the libraries, we usually do about an hour presentation with a PowerPoint. We call it Paranormal 101. And you'll have a question answer period after it, and then we'll do a mini investigation. If you've investigated with us, usually we'll do some rotations. And we've never done rotations on a library investigation before, but we did this time. And, we did just 10-minute
rotations. We didn't have very much time for the
There was a
for the
ladybug.
investigation.
There was a ladybug climbing on the
I saw
computer.
that.
I know, it was climbing across my screen here a minute ago.
It is November. I thought ladybugs were all dead or hibernating. Hello,
or
ladybug friend.
participating in paranormal podcasts,
All
because
right.
we've got one.
There's our host, Ladybug. Anyway, she had 50 people sign up, she being the librarian, and I think most of them were there. I think there was about...
I thought it was 47 or 48, she said.
That was before she had... that was a few days prior. I think everybody had signed up, but I think only about 35 to 40 came.
Yeah.
That's still pretty good turnout.
It was a really good turnout.
Absolutely. It was a very good turnout, and everybody was great. Everybody
And
was
some
very
of the
interested.
people that turned out showed up at the Indian Hills Haunted Horror, too.
They did.
Awesome.
We'll talk
Oh,
about that
really?
in a minute. But let's go on with the library. Any more? Come on, Rogue, go.
So, the thing-
Well, we separated into teams, so I only had a certain amount of experiences to go over because it was pretty quiet for us. I had a gentleman that had dowsing rods, and he was talking to two ladies that would sit there and spin the dowsing rods, and really was entertaining the crowd quite well.
ultimately, all three groups kind of came to the same conclusion that there were two gentleman spirits that were downstairs, and then there were two female spirits upstairs, and they didn't really mingle a whole lot. They didn't really get along, and not like they weren't mad at each other or anything, but they didn't hang. They kept to their separate spaces. But the American Fork Library is in a park, and part of the park has a DUP, which is Daughters of the Utah Pioneer section, where there was 4 or 5 little cabins.
Mm-hmm. Some of the old historic cabins that were first in American Fork, first homes in American Fork.
Right, and we didn't really have time to go inside the cabins, and I guess it was kind of off season.
They weren't open for that.
But they did let us go because they have them in a fenced-in area. They did let us inside the fenced-in area, and my group had a gentleman, I don't want to say little kid, a young man who was about 14, and we were there for just a few minutes by the cabins, and he said, I feel like someone is pulling the back of my jacket. And after some yes/no questions through the K2 meter, we determined it was a teenage girl that thought he was cute and
Trying to get his attention.
We told her that she had to stay there. His mother was very emphatic that she not follow him home. And then he couldn't sleep all night. And his dad said, no more ghost hunts for you till you're older. I happen to know his mom, so she was there too. But it was a fun night. And this little gal spirit, she was fine. She just thought he was cute. So the other thing we did was the Indian Hills Horror Haunted House. Did I say that right?
Yes.
You put more than 2 words together and I struggle with it.
No, you nailed it.
Awesome.
Very nice.
Awesome. So we did a TikTok live on Sunday night because they ran it Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And Doc participated in it. He was Freddy Krueger.
Yes. Well, 2 of the 3 nights I was Freddy Krueger. I was an evil, like, lab mad scientist guy for the other night, but pretty awesome turnout. I think we were close to 1,200 people total, so 1,100 maybe.
And that was a total of 8 hours was all.
Yep, 8 hours of work.
Oh, a lot more work. 8 hours of
8
show.
hours of haunting. Yeah, it's a pretty awesome haunted house. You know, we put about, we start early, October 1st, sometimes even in September, and, building things out, and it was great.
I was actually down there tonight, pulling things down.
You were breaking down. Breaking it down is a lot easier than putting it up.
And we'll be doing that for a few days still.
But it was great. We had an awesome turnout. Had a lot of people from work that went through, and we made a lot of children cry.
And a lot of parents very happy about their children crying. It was so much fun to watch
So we had our booth up just right at where they come out.
the exit.
And it's funny because little kids would come out crying and the parents would be laughing hysterically because their kids were crying. And some people walk out, because they're trying to be tough. And people would come out screaming. I think standing by the entrance is the most fun part of that haunted house.
I think we had more crying children this year than we had in like the previous 14 years combined. We scared a hell of a lot of kids.
That's a good haunting weekend.
So what's the difference, Doc? There's a difference between a haunted house and a spook alley.
Ooh. Well, I don't know.
You didn't know that?
Well,
This is according to Klaus.
Well, I'd love to hear it.
A spook alley is for like children 12 and under.
Ah.
Where you don't scare the bejeepers out of them.
Gotcha. You just spook them.
You just spook them and you have a little fun. And we're even thinking about maybe doing a little spook alley for some of the kids in the neighborhood this next year.
Nice. Put just a little walkway and let them go through.
And run them around the back of the house. And
what you're trying to say is Klaus felt guilty we scared so many kids.
No, well, this will certainly not be that, because this will be like doing it on a weekday night before Halloween, because we'll be down there for Halloween. This will be
a one night on a Wednesday
kind of thing. But things like, spaghetti with them feeling it and telling them it's guts. And
singing pumpkins, that kind of stuff.
Singing pumpkins.
Yep. A little bit of fog.
So that'll be more of the spook, or the spook alley rather than the haunt.
And a haunted house is when you don't dare turn the corner because you don't know what's standing there.
Because you're going to get eaten by a clown.
Or more.
Yeah.
In the spider room. I don't like the spider room. Anyway, it was a lot of fun, though. We met a lot of really cool people that stopped by our booth and talked to us, and we've got a bunch of residentials in the works.
And tell them about your other cool TikTok thing that you did with the drums, with the Tesla coils that you watched.
Oh, so the haunted house, our haunted house started at 8. But while we were setting up down the street, you could see it from where we were just sitting. There was a man with he had 2 huge Tesla coils on either side of his driveway. And he was sitting in his driveway with a computer, and he would play songs on
the Tesla coils.
Tesla coils. And I did a live. It's a little hard to find the lives, and they only stay up for so long. So I'll actually post a video of it on our TikTok. But it was singing Ghostbusters and Zelda songs and Thriller. It was really, really cool to watch. So we'll throw that up on TikTok.
Awesome. It was very neat.
Very cool. We're going to move on to the bucket list, brought to you by Oteo's. It's a Mexican restaurant that has some pretty fancy tacos.
They're really good.
They're tasty. A couple locations. Is it Orem and Linden that they're in?
Yes.
Awesome. Check them out if you're ever in the area. They're fantastic.
All right. So today the bucket list is on me, and I'm excited to finally have something to throw on my bucket list. So I found out that the original Kennecott mine is in Alaska. And for those of you that don't know, I did work at the local Kennecott mine here. It's an open pit copper mine that they say that you can see from outer space. It's a mile wide. So for me to see that there's an abandoned ghost town from the original Kennecott, that intrigues me. So I found this great article that said that back in 1990s, there were some construction workers trying to do some work there, and mysteriously all of their tools like hammers and stuff would go missing, and it would terrify like the strongest man, and so he would run off and wouldn't come back to work there. So I always like those kind of stories. I want to go there and have those types of experiences.
I don't want my stuff to disappear if I go there.
Right. Well, I grew up in a house where the stuff would disappear and we would find it in odd places. So as long as we get to find it in the odd places, it's okay.
As long as it comes back.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So did it say where in Alaska the Kennecott mine is? What's it by?
It's 300 miles east of Anchorage.
Oh, so this is in Alaska. This isn't the one in Utah.
This is an Alaska mine. This is the original
Right.
Kennecott mine.
Okay. All right, you say Kennecott, and I just think Utah.
Right.
Sorry.
Right.
Continue.
Hilarious. So Kennecott, the original Kennecott in Alaska, has been abandoned now since the 1930s. So once the ore ran out, everybody left the town, and it's been sitting there as a ghost town now for almost 100 years. So it is being taken care of by the National Park Service, and it is a big historical site now that's being maintained. So I don't know how much ghosty stuff is really still going on, or if we could actually ghost hunt, but it looks like it's a very large property. So I'm sure there's still all kinds of activity up there.
I'm still trying
Enough that it made it to the world's scariest haunted place book that I bought.
Nice. I'm still lamenting that I was going to just get in the car and drive over to Kennecott. Now I'm sad that it's in Alaska.
Well,
I thought we could scratch this off really fast.
Right? When I first noticed it in the back of the book in the index, I was like, what do you mean? I used to work up there. What are you talking about? It's one of the scariest places. I've got to know. That it's a little bit longer of a drive.
Yeah. Got to go through Canada.
Yeah. So maybe one day we can get out of here and go see the original Kennecott.
Yeah, and I don't know that the Canadians will let us in yet, will they?
I think
that changes daily.
We're getting close.
We're getting close. Okay, maybe we can drive there one day. Road trip.
All right. Our Paranormal Junk Drawer is being brought to you by Barbary Coast Saloon. They've got a great little flat iron steak on Thursday nights. Go out and do that. They've got very tasty food.
Rogue and I went there not too long ago for lunch, and I had their Philly beef and Swiss. It's pretty tasty too. I haven't had anything that's bad there.
Yeah, it's great.
They also have that amazing breakfast brunch on Sunday mornings.
Ooh, what time?
Wonderful. I believe it's from 10 to like 2 in the afternoon. Goes probably until all of the biscuits are gone. It's very, very good. And it's like $7.99. It's really relatively inexpensive.
I'd be super happy if they brought back their stuffed pretzel. Okay, I don't know if you've ever heard about this, but there is a headstone in the Salt Lake City Cemetery. It's for a lady named Lilly Gray, and her grave reads that she is the victim of the beast 666.
I have heard of this.
Yeah, it's pretty famous. She was buried there more than 50 years ago. And, if you're walking through the cemetery and you see victim of the beast 666, you're going to be thinking, what in the heck was she involved in? So do you know much about this, or have you just heard about it?
No, I read about it on Atlas Obscura, which is one of my favorite websites. It has just weird random things that you can see in different states. But they didn't give much detail as to what that actually meant.
Well, let me fill you in.
All right.
I'll fill you in. So we might get a little giggly here, but, whatever. We haven't done that before. The Utah State Historical Society gets a lot of questions about this, oddly enough. And one of the library collection coordinators from the Division of State History, his name is Doug Misner, he says that they actually have some information on her. So here's the deal. According to the Division of State History, she died of natural causes.
Okay. That's the beast?
Mm-hmm.
Natural causes was the beast?
There's more.
Okay.
We're not done. But according to the state, she died of natural causes, and that's not very interesting. Based on your reaction, right? You're like, what? But another record from the state archives from 1947, written by Lilly Gray's husband, Elmer, suggests something else. Okay. He indicates that his parents...
Wasn't Elmer in prison?
Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah, so let's just put that there. He's in prison.
So prison hubby Elmer.
Prison hubby Elmer. He indicates that his parents are both dead. They died of grief when kidnappers murdered his wife. And this is also from state records. This is in the state records.
Okay. His parents died of grief when kidnappers murdered his wife.
Mm-hmm.
And she's the one that the B666 got?
Yes.
Okay.
Probably the kidnappers. And I say probably because this is a convoluted story. Try to stay with me.
No, really?
I'm trying.
Yeah, so yes, he was in the state prison. It's unclear why he was in the prison, but he was appealing to the Board of Pardons. So apparently it was possible to get pardoned.
Right, you'd have to be a really crappy medical examiner that would be like, natural causes or murdered by kidnappers. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Maybe you got your
think
certificate out of Cracker Jack box.
Elmer's got to be like a schizophrenic or something, but
yeah.
Let's keep moving.
So according to the documents, Elmer Gray indicates he was kidnapped by 5 Democrat officials. And we're not getting political here. I'm just saying...
You're just reading
what the records say. Misner, if you remember who Misner is, he works for the Division of State History, says it makes you wonder about Elmer.
Yeah.
The official record of Lilly stops there. However, there is another document that has surfaced. There's more. But wait, there's more. You can get a free knife with this. No, just kidding. Mike.
Maybe she got the free knife with it.
Oh, bad dad joke. Bad dad joke. Mike Ellerbeck, he owns Salt Lake Monument, which they've made headstones for more than 100 years, including Lilly Gray's. A relative stopped by a few years ago, and Ellerbeck made a note of her account. So she comes in, gets all chatty. He's like, we're going to write this down because, what do you want on your wife's headstone?
Victim of the beast. 666, please.
Can you see him going, okay, that'll be extra.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to call this a special headstone.
So I'm sure this will shock you, but Elmer was considered by Lilly's family to be quite a scoundrel. He was a scoundrel.
Prison will do that to families.
Yeah. Well, and he was probably a scoundrel to get into prison, too.
That's what yeah.
They actually met a little later in life. They weren't, like young lovers. They were a little older when they met. And apparently they had a special relationship, but it was almost secretive. So
Elmer and his wife
Elmer
had a
and Lilly.
secret relationship?
Secret.
Okay.
I don't know if they got married in secret. I don't know.
Gotcha.
Lilly Gray died a few years later at the age of 77, so I mean she was getting up there. And I guess he's the one that ordered the headstone. And it's not clear why he chose that for the headstone. Elmer Gray figured that the government was the beast.
The government was the beast, but the kidnappers got her. But the medical examiner said natural causes.
Yeah, apparently.
Well, that's because the government. He's covering for the government.
I see.
Yeah.
Oh, we could go into a ton of conspiracy theory things.
I'm just going to read and then we're going to end. Here we go.
We won't even get started. Just think of my line of work and what's going on right now, and there's a whole lot of those.
And her family actually kept her away from her husband during her dying days. And it doesn't say,
He was in prison. Wasn't he?
I'm just
writes angry letters. You better not see your daughter, or I'll stay in my cell and be mad.
I'm just reading what it says.
Not very threatening, right? He's in a cage, for hell's sake.
Yeah. So they were actually buried in the same cemetery, but Lily's family buried her as far away from him as she can get. So now I really want to go to the Salt Lake City Cemetery.
It's a big cemetery.
It is a huge... If you have never seen the Salt Lake City Cemetery, it is enormous.
It's one of the largest municipal cemeteries in the country.
It is. It is. If I ever have to go and play bagpipes at a funeral there, I go a half an hour early. Just so
to
I can
find the boys.
I mean, there's one whole section which is just Catholic. There's a whole section that's
Buddhist.
Asian. I mean, it's many 4 or 5, 6 city blocks,
I wanna
big
go
city
find Elmer.
blocks.
That's who I want to go find.
And there's some cool people there. We've gone and found
Or in Porter Rockwell.
Orrin Rockwell. There's a lot of church prophets that are buried there, and higher up people in our church. We
A lot of
went
pioneers.
to a lot of pioneers. We went to go find your relatives.
Okay, you're going to jump into a personal experience here. Let's do the personal experience.
Okay, here's the personal experience. So there's a map. You can get this map online, to find. And so we were trying to find some of Chad's relatives. We were looking and look over there. We got to be close. Let's go over here.
My third great grandfather, a pioneer that came into the Salt Lake Valley with one of the very, very early groups. It wasn't like the first group in, but
We spent half hour looking, and we finally stopped, and we're trying to.
We had some lunch.
Yeah, so we sat down and ate our lunch, which probably took 15, 20 minutes. Okay. And we decided, okay, we've kind of reset. We've eaten our lunch. With a fresh head, let's look again. So we stand up, get all of our stuff because we're tidy and don't leave crap at the cemetery. And Chad's, trying to orient in the map, and I just kind of glanced down, and there it is. We could have touched it for the last 20 minutes.
You ate lunch with Grandpa.
Yeah, and I'm like, is it this one?
Great grandpa.
I said, are these guys related? He's like, that's the one we're looking for. We literally anyway.
Sat right next to it.
So
That was kind of a weird experience. I mean, because we had walked and, and it's like, I don't know. Well, we're hungry. We got Subway. Let's eat some Subway.
But now we got to go back. We got to go back and find Lilly and Elmer.
Yeah, we do.
Okay. But we've got one more sentence. You ready for this last one?
Oh, yeah.
And I'm just going to read this. So this is from Ellerbeck, the fellow that talked to the family member of Lilly Gray. And this is just a quote. They were like two mists coming towards each other that united against all odds.
Two mists.
Two mists.
That was poetic.
I don't know that the family would approve of that.
No.
But
probably
yeah,
not.
there you go.
All right. Victim of the Beast, 666.
If we find it, we'll take pictures and put the pictures up. I want to know what the family put on Elmer's headstone.
My first thought was, I thought she was just like some raging alcoholic and died of addiction or something, and that's why they were like, victim of the beast. I don't know.
See, I would have thought she was like a member of the occult and had been sacrificed.
She was a human
under
sacrifice, yeah.
And she was like 72 or 70.
She was 77 when she died.
77.
Like, none of this sounds suspicious, but that headstone sure is interesting.
Yeah, natural causes. So, if you hear about that, don't get too excited.
Last but not least, get your Supernatural Hour swag at advancedparanormal.com. All sorts of awesome stuff. Mugs, shirts, tapestries, you name it. advancedparanormal.com.
Also at advancedparanormal.com, you can check out our shop that carries our sage sprays, our rollers, our lip balms. We've got all kinds of good stuff.
We actually sold some of that stuff at our event over the weekend.
It actually goes really quickly at our events. People snap it up, so we're gonna have to
they love the sage lavender spray. They use it a lot, like in cars and things when they want to sage a car and not have to have the smoke smell.
Yep.
It's really cool.
I like it. All right, stay spooky, my haunty friends.
Love you, Nicholas.
Have a good one.
Hey, have a good night.
You've been listening to the Supernatural Hour at AdvancedParanormal.com. The Supernatural Hour is part of the Radio Ronin network found at RadioRonin.com. Copyright 2021 by Advanced Paranormal Services.